I completely understand why the guys in Skid Row don't want to get back together with him.
I'm ashamed in myself for not putting this guy on the list.
But you kind of put it away and you forget about it. Kind of like your kids.
Angel Eyes was hands down my favorite ballad of all time.
Everybody who heard it was like, who the fuck is singing?
Like I said, the AOR god.
It will blow your fucking mind.
This one gives lightning bolts. There we go.
No shit.
Shit,
No
yeah.
way. And make you feel like, you know what? He's writing about me.
What he lacked in hair, he made up in voice.
Pretty singing voices. Oh shit. That's how you make fucking balloons.
Dear God, when I wake up, I sure hope I sound like Phil Lewis.
I hate to tell you what I think about when I lay awake at night.
A smoking, drinking, raspy voiced 80s skinny dude.
Jesus, here we go. Now I'm magic.
We won't be able to walk tomorrow, so we might as well do it some more.
Tell him that the guru is looking for him, okay? Look, I came here to do two things: chew bubblegum and talk hair metal. And it looks like I'm almost out of bubblegum. Welcome to the Hair Metal Guru. My name is Anthony. They call me the Guru. Today, a great episode, something a little bit different. Instead of talking about albums, we will be talking about the best hair metal vocalists of all time. And who better to talk about vocalists than a vocalist himself, the lead singer of the band Metalcast, Ryan. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Honored to be here. I always love it. And I like to say I'm a lead screamer. I don't think I'm a
Right,
vocalist.
right. In fact, you Ryan is in my honorable mentions for top hair metal vocalist because if you haven't listened to the song Heavy Metal Rambo by Metalcast, and I will put like a little picture, you need to go check that shit out because it is 80s rock in all its glory. Metal Mike wrote the song, or at least wrote part of the song, and Ryan does the lead vocals. It is fantastic. So I will implore everybody to check that out. So while one thing that I said I was going to keep doing every episode, I want to show some of the stuff that I frame. You see all the walls in my house are full of shit. Well, one of my favorite bands of all time, and just talked about them in the most recent episode I put out on best debut albums, is the band Sleaze Bees and their at least American debut album Screwed, Blued, and Tattooed. This is a 12 by 12-inch album flat. So I worship that band. If you don't know Sleaze Bees, check it out. So there's something for you people who like vintage original rock shit.
And
Okay.
they're a Dutch band, right?
They are a Dutch band, but I think the singer is currently lives in America, Andrew
Oh,
Elt.
cool.
I don't know if he's from America, but the band is originally Dutch. Yes.
Yeah.
So
They're
one other thing I'm going to point out before I get rolling with Ryan is I now have memberships you can join. There's benefits. You get unreleased videos, early access to videos. So do or don't. It's my least favorite part of doing this intro is I don't want to sound like, hey, like I'm asking for your money. So, don't or do. The option is out there. So I do have to. Andrew Daly from Ontario, Canada, just donated through my PayPal app on the page. So thank you very much. I assure you that any money that comes into this thing just goes towards hopefully me being able to make more and more content. So
good.
with that, the best no the best vocalists of the hair metal genre, that's not an easy topic for
No.
because, well, number one, I like so many different kind of vocalists,
Yeah.
and a lot of my favorite vocalists aren't people who have pretty singing voices. Oh shit, that's how you make fucking balloons. I was always wondering how that, and I
What's this
tried to
right
do it.
here?
I tried to do it in my last video. I was like, what the fuck? How do I get the confetti and shit? Anyway, we just have balloons. So I like vocalists who sound like they drink razor blades and snort
Oh,
laundry
yeah.
detergent. So anyway, I tried to have a mix of the guys who have the great singing voices and then some of my other favorites who might, have a little more grit. What was your plan going into finding your favorite vocalists?
Totally. I totally agree. First of all, thank you very much for your preaching of Metalcast. It's a very fun project and I really appreciate it and more to come. So thank you very much. But absolutely, this is like I said, this is cruel and unusual punishment. This could have been a top 30 list. Okay? There are so many rippers from this genre. I know I'm going to have several out that I'm going to leave several out that I hope you included. Okay, let's just say that. You're going to pick me up, I'm going to pick you up. But this is such a tough one to distinguish between the bands that I love and the good singers that are in great bands, if that makes any sense.
Right.
So, I kind of frame my list as to like what singers are out there that can sing the phone book and I'd listen to it. You know what I mean? And what singers have a catalog of amazing stuff and not just one or two albums that I love. So there's countless honorable mentions and some singers that I'm bummed I didn't include, but I'm really pumped on this top 10 list and that it's going to be amazing and I know it. Yours too.
I I started and I started laughing because when people comment on my YouTube videos, the comment pops up on my computer. So 99% of the people that comment on the videos that we make are awesome. But some dude just commented, hair metal is not a genre. So I'm going to bitch slap him as soon as we get this because I'm about done with that shit. Okay.
You know what? It's so funny. Like you got a guy like Stephen Piercy who lived it, loved it. Hell, his band was labeled as fashion rock
Oh
at the
yeah.
beginning of his career, and he's totally okay with it.
Yeah.
And that's enough for me. I I love I love the fact that it's called
Yes.
hair bands, hair metal. I don't care. I think it's the perfect description. If you say something's hair metal, I'm gonna like it.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Totally. And it's so like I was listening to this guy Brendan Snyder. He has a really good YouTube page. I watch a lot of his stuff. But he is talking to this guy who owns a music store and the guy is saying, "I hate labels." And Brendan Snyder is like, "Well, that's glam metal or that's hair metal or whatever." And he's like, "I don't like those terms." And Brendan is like, "Well, how do you describe stuff or how do you want stuff described to you and that would help you know if you like it or not?" And the guy's like, "Well, just tell me if something rocks."
Oh
And
gosh.
but what if I tell you, like, do you like Slayer?
I I mean, they're a bit much for me,
Okay.
but they're
Okay.
yeah,
I mean, I'm not into that's way too heavy
yeah,
for me. So
yeah.
if you tell me, well, I've never heard of Slayer, and you tell me Slayer rocks, I'm gonna listen to it and be like, what the fuck? But if you
Yeah.
tell me, well, Slayer is really heavy thrash metal, then I'm like, okay, I got an idea. That's probably not for me. But if you say, hey, this band is a hair metal band, well, now that really, I'm like, okay, I have an idea of what you're talking about. Anyway,
Exactly.
we're getting off topic, but there's always one douchebag who comments and says something like that. And like I said, the majority of people are awesome. So I'm gonna straighten that fucker out here.
That a boy.
Okay, with that, let's get into our top 10 hair metal vocalists. And so, what is
Ah,
your number 10, Ryan?
okay, well, I'm famous for bending the rules when I'm on the '80s glam metal cast with Metal Mike, and I have to do it right now. Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna tell you right now. I gotta bring up Brian Johnson and Bon Scott. Okay, so they are a package deal for me. They aren't in the '80s glam metal category. Obviously, that a boy wearing representing. I love it, but I'm not officially putting them on the list, but I truly believe that they are both incredible influences on so many singers on this list. That being said, here's my actual number 10. And I'm sorry, I just had to bring my boys up because ACDC Forever
Yeah.
and for always will be my number one. But
Yeah.
my actual number 10 is going to be a guy who you might say, who's this? But it's Harry Hess from Harem Scarum. Okay. So they're a decently well known band from Canada, and their debut was in 1991. Their first two albums are insanely great, solid, catchy, talented hard rock with amazing ballads and mid tempos. I mean, these guys kind of make that whole genre. So he's got the type of voice where you can do the really, really deep stuff and then you could shatter glass. Like this guy goes from here to there insanely well. Um, let's see here what I got. So songs to check out. If you're not familiar with this band and you want to get a really good taste of this band, check out Distant Memory, Love Reaction, No Justice, and an example of what I'm kind of preaching here is a song called "If There Was a Time," and this song goes from low to high like no other within the first minute of the song. So, although Harem Scarum has like two albums out in the heyday, if you will, they've released a ton of albums in the 90s and 2000s, some solo stuff. They're still at it. Very well respected Canadian band and very talented. So I had to put him on the list.
So as soon as I heard that name, I was like, "Who the fuck is that?" And but I do know Harem Scarum.
Of
I
course.
didn't know I don't know enough about the band. I couldn't even tell you what their albums are called, though I know I've listened to some of their stuff and remember liking it. Now I need to go revisit it because it's just like I'm like, "Oh, okay, it's there in my brain somewhere." But if you're saying that this guy's a top 10 hair metal vocalist, I'll probably check that shit out.
Very good.
Okay. All right. My number 10, and this was one where, again, I said I was torn between wanting I love the growly, grizzly vocals. Um, but I started off with Mike Tramp from White Lion.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm a big White Lion fan, and not just from Mike Tramp, but Vito Bratta on guitar is just unbelievable. But I'm surprised at the amount of people who do not like the song "When the Children Cry." I
Hmm.
love that song. I don't know. I went into teaching, so I've always been, you know, like somebody who wanted to watch out for the kids. And so I love the emotion in that. But even like the rock songs, like Wait, like Tell Me, that dude just has a super, it's mainly a very clean voice. And maybe I like his voice because the songs are really catchy. But I saw Mike Tramp solo once at a small dive bar, and there was probably 100, maybe a little over 100 people there, and he was phenomenal live. And I Metal Mike and I've talked about the album Main Attraction a
Yeah.
bunch. Great album. So I just think that guy's got a cool vocalist. He's great live, and so he's my number 10.
And they opened for AC/DC on the Blow Up Your Video tour,
They did.
and and he did a great job of it. I'm so happy you mentioned "Tell Me." That's one of the secret tracks on that not first album, but
Pride.
on that album that's just it's so killer, dude. Like I think that could have been and should have been maybe the first single. I love Wait. I love When the Children Cry. I'm so glad they released that song as a single. Obviously, it garnered them a lot of success. But dude, what a cool string of albums those guys have.
Yeah.
And Fight to Survive all the way to Main Attraction are like listened to through and through. Great, great selection.
I was a little like I loved the song Little Fighter, but album
Yeah.
number two, what's it called again?
Big game.
Big Game. It kind of, I just don't
Yeah.
remember it grabbing me.
Yeah,
But the
and it's
first
it's a
two,
it's a it's a lot like the Bon Jovi thing. We just watched that documentary, and they were rushed to put out their second album, just like these guys were rushed to put out their true second album because they had Fight to Survive.
yep.
They were dropped during the making of it. They put out Big or is it Hungry? Yeah, and then they put out or Pride. I'm sorry, they put out Pride, and then they put out Big Game, and it was it was rush. It was a rush job.
And then they were like, fuck, we're not doing that again. They took their time with Main Attraction. Main Attraction is full of
Yeah,
hits. It just came out too late.
I know it exactly.
All right, man. Who's your number 8 or number 9? Excuse me.
Number 9. So, I got Janie Lane right here, okay? So, Janie Lane, the legend, probably one of the best songwriters of the entire genre. Janie's got that distinct talent of being able to sing with more balls the higher he goes, like the more intense. It's such a cool talent that this guy has. And think Mr. Rainmaker, Uncle Tom's Cabin, Sure Feels Good, which happens to have one of my all-time favorite lines ever, and that is the "We won't be able to walk tomorrow, so we might as well do it some more." Like, God, dude, that if that's not the best tongue-in-cheek shit ever, that's the best.
Right.
But that's just a great example of how this guy's like his lyrically and melodically he came out. But you got songs like Bonfire. He's got the same thing going on. She's no one's pet, beautiful, intelligent, you absolutely must respect. It's like, what is he saying right there? He says it like a machine gun. It's crazy, no pun intended. But he says it so fast, and it's like, how is he getting that out?
Yeah.
And then the best description of Janie's brilliance is in Down Boys, the second line of the song. And I mumbled this for like 20 years, and I recently looked up, like I'm talking recent as in like 2024. And
Right.
when he says, the way the streetlight silhouettes your thighs inside your dress. That second line of that song, it's amazing. I never knew he said that. I just mumbled whatever when I'd sing along to that song.
What did
And
you think? Oh, you didn't know it. You didn't. Did you
um
guess what he
I,
was saying?
no, I had no idea. And when I actually realized it, I was like, God, that's brilliant. Jesus, this guy's perfect. But anyway, I never get sick of this dude's voice. I can make if I can make a major shout out to songs 7, 8, and 9 off Dog Eat Dog, maybe some of the finest examples of Janie. Hollywood, All My Bridges Are Burning, and Quicksand. The run of these three, I basically could have put these three up from 92 and said, here you go. This guy's amazing. And you guys would have been like, yeah, that's perfect melodic hard rock. So love Janie. He's high on the list, but you know what? No disrespect to the guy.
Right. I love those 3 songs you're talking about, and I know we're talking about singing ability,
Yeah.
but his lyric writing,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I know you're not huge on Ultraphobic, and even Belly to Belly has some moments that I'd rather forget, but that dude could write some lyrics that could just grab you right
Yeah,
here and make you feel like, you know what? He's writing about me. Like that
totally.
song is about me,
Yep.
and not everybody can do that. So
Yeah. Yeah,
I
exactly. And I even screwed up the Machine Gun Speed lyrics on the way he sings it live in a slow motion version just now. It's insane. I love the way
oh
he
yeah,
pronounces words. It's amazing.
yep, yep, yeah, awesome. That's one of my favorites ever, and I'll just stop there. Okay, my number 9 is well, maybe a surprise to people who watch this. But I'm a huge fan of the debut Taiketo album, Don't Come Easy. And
Mhm.
their singer, Danny Vaughn, was first heard about when he was singing in the band Wasted
That's right.
with,
Yep.
with Pete Way. And they put out an album, now I forget what it's called, Save Your Prayers.
Yes.
And there's a song on there called Singing to the Night. Go check that
Yeah.
shit out.
I'm
Uh,
gonna tell you, I'll look it up right now.
what's that?
I was gonna look it up right now because I love that album.
Yeah. So that when I hear that song, I think that dude could sing for Journey.
That's right.
You know, it's an up tempo, like kind of a pop rock AOR song. So you start with that song. Well, then he joins and fronts Taiketo and their 1991 album Don't Come Easy. Um, and I don't want to be all about ballads, but sometimes for me it's easy to judge a singer by when they do those emotional slow songs. So the song Standing Alone is I've said that it's in my top two or three hair metal ballads of all time. Lyrically, it's phenomenal, and the guy just hits notes that you're like, no, no, he can't. Yes, yes, he can. And I just, even just thinking about it right now, like I kind of get goosebumps. So that
Nice.
album is really an AOR pop rock masterpiece. Like people on X or people who are really into hair metal just love that album, even though it never got the attention that it deserved. And a huge reason is Danny Vaughn is a phenomenal vocalist.
Agreed. I've been I've admitted that I haven't been entirely into Taiketo. I went with Strength in Numbers recently on the CMC 80s Glam Metal Cast top
But
7, I believe we did like a 3 people did a top 7, and I really liked that album, and I went back to this one, and I thought, "Damn, dude, like, I love the Wasted album, and I really like this." So, I'm getting way back more into it, and so far, I'm really liking it. So, I don't know where it missed me in the old days,
oh,
but I'm definitely, like, feeling it now. So, great choice.
there's so many bands that I heard of back in the, and I'll just
Yeah.
like Brian from the Hairband Basement was talking about um shit, Slick Toxic, their
Yeah.
1992 album Doing the Nasty. Well, I bought it right when it came out. I remember like oh shit, hair metal in 1992, yes. And
Yeah.
I played it and I just kind of got done and I was like, eh, so I put it away. Well, years later on X, there's these people who just worship hair metal and they're talking about Slick Toxic. I'm like, I better go give that thing another whirl. And then you're like, shit, I missed out on some stuff. So that happens
Mhm.
with me all the time. But I love when people remind me of stuff and or introduce new hair metal bands that I either forgot about or didn't know because man, sometimes
Mhm.
you find some gems that you completely forgot. So
Totally. Very good.
all right, what's your number 8?
All right, number 8. So here's what I got, Klaus Meine. So I got the man that could have been an opera singer. Uh, he's what he lacked in hair, he made up in voice. um, the Scorpions' run from 79 to 8 to 93 were insane. He brought songs like Blackout, Big City Nights, I'm Leaving You, Passion Rules the Game, Someone to Touch. Then he could go straight to the soft stuff like Send Me an Angel, China White, Believe in Love, and he just delivered the diversity. He was perfect at that. A little bit of low, a little bit of high. It was great. Um, and one thing I'll say is, if you ever noticed that the Scorpions had that hint of German accent back in the old days, like in the heyday,
Yeah.
and then as the years went on, especially in the 2000s, they kind of said, "Screw it, we're gonna really lay on thick the German accent." Like they were they were very Americanized in the 80s and early 90s, and then they
Right.
just said, "You know what? Screw it. We're gonna be on our own. We're gonna do what we do. This is our first language." You're gonna see the true German Scorpions. Hello, California. Hello, San Diego. How you doing tonight? All that
Right.
stuff. That really was laid on thick in the old days,
Yeah.
in the new days.
Right, right,
So
right.
anyway, Klaus, you can't go wrong with Klaus. He's got so many hits and universally loved.
That is a band that I think in the heyday, like in the 80s, obvious everybody loved like Rock You Like a Hurricane and those
Yeah.
big hits. But I think I was too cool and I was like, well, Jesus, here we go. Now I'm magic. Mm, yes. Um, but I was too cool. I was like, well, they're an old 70s band, and
Right.
I like the new shit, you
Yeah.
know? So even though I listened, I wasn't out buying their cassettes, but it was like in the 2000s. And in fact, I remember buying the album Unbreakable,
Oh
which is
yeah.
very good. And
Yes, it is.
I'm like, shit, I gotta go back and because I don't know that I've really revisited their old stuff. And then I just got on a huge Scorpions kick. In fact, I'm like, ah, shit, I need to, because they have so many albums, so you need to
Yeah.
revisit that shit. I'll be honest, I haven't really checked out their early 70s stuff. like their mid
Yeah.
70s, but like you said, the 79 to 93. And I really like their new album, Rock Believer.
Uh-huh.
So in fact, I was going to put Klaus on mine, but I bumped him off because I let you have it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So, all right. All right. Great choice. My number eight is, and I've just gotten into really talking about these guys a lot in the last couple of videos, but Tesla, Jeff Keith, um, I've seen them live a ton, but I saw them live last summer at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds, and that dude still, I think they might down tune some stuff, but he still sounds phenomenal. He still hits notes, and I he's got the grit that I love, and he can rage like on modern day cowboy, but then
Mhm.
on a slower song like either love song or getting better. I love the intro to getting better.
Oh, it's
Um,
perfect.
so the dude, that band comes out, they're like, hey, it's the time of hair metal, but we're wearing jeans and t-shirts. This is who we are. We're not going to change. And man, I just fell in love with them right away. And Jeff Keith is a big part of why.
Yeah, agreed. I've seen them in very small venues, and I've seen them in amphitheaters, and they're great either way.
Yes.
When I saw them in a small place, I'm talking like 1,000 people, it was so cool because you nailed it. They are true to form as they were opening for Def Leppard, as they are right now. And they really appreciate it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Jeff Keith knows anything else other than to be a smoking, drinking, raspy voiced 80s skinny dude. And I preach him. And I love it. I love it. So great to put him on the list.
And you never see them and think, you know what, they're kind of tired. They're just phoning it in.
No,
Jeff Keith is always
oh,
smiling
he's perfect.
and fucking just like into it. And they
Yep.
seem, to really appreciate the people that show up. And I just love that attitude. So,
Oh yeah, it's great. I love him.
yep. All right. What's your number seven?
All right, cool. So here's where I got Kelly Hansen. All right. So the silky smooth Kelly Hansen, not a lick of rasp on this guy.
Right.
Pure, moody, rangy, catchy talent. He worked his way onto this coveted list with the strength of one particular YouTube video that I stumbled upon years ago. And I searched Hurricane Live 1990 one day, and I tried to find some stuff from Slave to the Thrill, which happens to be my favorite Hurricane album. And I found some stuff from the live in Japan. So I'm a big Hurricane nut, although the second album kind of disappointed me, as we know. Um, I love all the songs, but they mostly focused on Slave to Thrill, which I love, and that's my favorite Hurricane album. So, um, he sang them to absolute perfection, and I'm talking like album quality perfection on the live in Japan deal. Um, the killerest part was that Hurricane was joined by the members or the ex-members of Lion at the end of the video, and Doug Aldrich, who joined Hurricane in 1990, was an ex-member of Lion, and all his old boys came out, and they performed the song "Power Love" from Lion, which is a very, very killer song. But Kelly Hansen absolutely destroyed it in a fantastic way. So at that point, I said, dude, this guy, he kills his own songs and he kills other bands' songs. But if you don't know Kelly Hansen, which everybody probably listening to this channel does, check out Reign of Love, Next to You, and also he was in Unruly Child for their second album, which may make an appearance later on the list.
And what is Kelly Hansen doing now?
Well, he may or may not be fronting one of the biggest bands of the genre, Foreigner.
Right, right. So, yeah, uh, Hurricane is that's another one of those bands that back in, I knew I'm on to you.
Yeah.
The big hit, but I did not get into Foreigner. Now I'm on Foreigner. Get into Hurricane.
Same thing.
Yeah, until years later, and finally somebody was talking about how great Slave to the Thrill was, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Fuck, I'm gonna go check that out." And man, I bet in the last couple months, I've listened to that album like 7 or 8 times.
Oh, dude,
And so it's like a new thing for me because it's only been in this last year that I started revisiting it. So
that's
great
awesome.
choice. And if Foreigner has no original members. So if you confront a band that still pulls in with no original members, you got to be good at singing Foreigner shit. And Foreigner shit, I mean, Lou Graham was a great vocalist, so to take over for Lou Graham is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Yeah. Okay. Good choice. My number 7. Uh, so I was talking to the hairband basement Brian about how I love bands who don't just sit and tour on the past. They keep releasing new stuff. And even if they know it's not going to sell, LA Guns is a band that does that. And I've always just thought that Phil Lewis
Oh,
has
yeah.
the more unique and easily identifiable voices of this genre. He started in the band Girl with Phil Collin, and that band was kind of going nowhere, and all of a sudden he gets a call to go to LA Guns. And the self-titled debut and Cocked and Loaded. I mean, I did the best hair metal ballads of all time, and the Ballad of Jane was I think it was in my top 5. That's a ballad that I don't get tired of. Rip and Tear, Never Enough, and I mean their newest album, Black Diamonds, and the title track is a ballad that is phenomenal. So he's great live, he's great on album, and like I said, just so original. So I love Phil Lewis.
I love Phil. I literally I've said this before. I used to lay there awake at night and be like, "Dear God, when I wake up, I sure hope I sound like Phil Lewis when I try to sing a note." And dude, if you listen to Never Enough, there's really like who could doubt his vocals? It's perfect. It's
Mhm.
like Jamie Rowe from Guardian. It's just, dude, you can't deny this guy. It's perfect. So the first 2, 3 albums I absolutely love and rip. And since he's been back, and then again prior to him kind of leaving and coming back, they've been very consistent throughout the years. So great
Totally.
on Phil.
Yeah, I mean, that's man, they have a large discography now.
Yeah, they do.
And so, like I love Poison, but God, they've only released a few albums. I'm like,
I
come
know, isn't that
on.
crazy?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
So you may lay awake at night wishing you could sing like Phil Lewis. I hate to tell you what I think about when I lay awake at night because it ain't that. So okay, we're on to your number 6. What do you got?
All right, cool. So I got James Christian. Okay. So I feel like I gravitate towards the gritty, ballsy type singers a lot, like the Saints and Sinners, Heavy Bones, Icon, Pretty Maids, all those guys. And James Christian fits right in. In fact, he might take the cake on that one. But he opens his mouth and poetry comes out. His voice is that permanent rasp with so many that natural range. So he could pull off the high intense stuff and he could bring it back down to that moody mid-tempo ballad. And I just love James Christian. So obviously I'm a big House of Lords fan. The first 3 albums are like perfection in my eyes. I like his first solo record a lot. So if you want to get a taste of James Christian, I check out Chains of Love off of Sahara, Wanna Be Loved on the first album, Heart on the Line, and then a lot of stuff on his first solo record. But check out Don't Start Me Up and Best Girl. So those are some like really choice cuts to kind of kick off if you don't know James Christian, but to me, he's like the ideal guy. So he's number 6.
So in fact, it was you talking about House of Lords so much in one
Yes.
of our last videos, and I'm like, shit, I really need to go revisit that. And I'm like, I forgot, it's been so long since I listened to it. I forgot some of the songs that I really liked. What was the one I sent you? Remember My Name?
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, that's a great ballad.
Oh
But
yeah.
so anyway, yes, I've been revisiting the House of Lords catalog. They were a band that I liked back in the day, but you kind of put it away and you forget about it. Kind of like your kids. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But so House of Lords, before they were House of Lords, were Giuffria,
Yeah.
right? And then they become House of Lords. Gene Simmons says, hey, I'm gonna sign you to my record label, but you're not gonna be Giuffria. You're gonna be
Yeah.
House of Lords. But it's just ironic because a guy that's gonna be on my honorable mentions is David Glenn Isley,
There you
who
go.
sang
Yeah.
for Giuffria and then a hair metal band called Dirty White Boy. And that
That's
I
right.
love that. So I could have handled House of Lords with the guy that you're talking about now,
James Christian.
James Christian, or with David Glenn Isley because I
Yeah.
both of those guys. So
And David Glenn Isley, I heard, was rumored to be a minor league ball player for the Giants. And I come from a long baseball history, played up through college and whatnot. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, I got to look this guy up. And I couldn't find him in the Giants' history,
okay.
but I know he looked the part. He probably could have played, so who knows? But yeah, I definitely love the Jafria stuff too.
I don't have a long baseball history, but I have gotten to second base.
Atta boy. Once, right?
I'm so
Once.
once. I'm so juvenile. Jeez, I gotta mature. Um, oh, and well, if there's a SpongeBob episode where like SpongeBob is singing at the halftime of the Super Bowl, and it's David Glenn Isley who
That's
is
right.
actual vocalist. And so you can go find that shit on YouTube. It's pretty epic. So,
That's cool.
all right.
His claim to fame.
Yep, yep. Hopefully that made him some money because I don't know if Giuffria did, but
Yeah.
all right. But I do like Giuffria a lot. Okay, my number 6, and this is where I was like, you know what? I'm not just gonna go search for the pretty vocalists. I'm gonna find the vocalists that when they sing, it just drives right into my soul. And so one of those singers is Tom Kiefer from Cinderella. And so I spent a bunch of time with Cinderella over the last couple days because Night Songs made my most recent video, which I just published. It's Thursday night. Um, and so Night Songs was one of the best debut albums of all
Mhm.
time. And the song Night Songs, Nobody's Fool. He can do a ballad, Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone. There's a couple great ballads on Still Climbing. And when he sings a ballad or when he sings about like having his heart broken, it fucking breaks my heart. And so I know the guy, he's had a lot of vocal problems. So live, he's sometimes hit or miss because of the strain. But that guy, like when he sings, I feel it. And to me, that's a sign of a good vocalist. So not a pretty voice, but enough grit to rip your chest apart.
Totally. And I think my favorite song by them is that pizza parlor video they did in like '83.
I'm gonna put that in here because hopefully it doesn't give me a copyright problem. But Pat's it's either Pat's or somebody's chili dog.
That's That's right.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I love Cinderella, and I love Kiefer. Like, I think he's got, like, such a cool voice, and like I said in, years before, I thought, what AC/DC album is Hot and Bothered off of?" When I heard the Wayne's World soundtrack, and I thought, "What is this song?" And, so anyway, big AC/DC sucker,
Yeah.
big Cinderella guy, so I couldn't agree with you more. Good
Yep.
choice.
Yep. All right. What's your number 5?
All right, so I got the AOR god Mark Free. So the dude, the dude's got a voice that transitions seamlessly between the intense stuff from King Cobra and the chill stuff on Signal. So,
Speaking of the word transition, do you mean Mark
oh,
or Marcy? I'm just kidding. Is it Mark or Marcy free? It's one of those.
you never know these days, but I'm very glad you brought that up. So, but Unruly Child ranked way up there in my 1992 superb class of albums. With every band, I mean, the guy just keeps getting better. So, King Cobra, Signal, Unruly Child, he just leveled up each time, in my opinion. So, his solo stuff is really good too. And if you want a taste of Mark Free, check out the Signal songs, "Wake Up You Little Fool," "Arms of a Stranger," everything on Unruly Child's first album, and then all the solo stuff you could find by Mark Free. But like I said, the AOR God.
I knew he was in King Cobra. I knew Unruly Child. He was
Yeah.
in Signal?
Signal. Yes. Signal is from '89. It's
Yep.
a self-titled album. Very do you know that album?
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know that, but I know of it. Like I see it, but
Yeah.
I didn't know it was Mark Free.
Oh, yeah. So that was his band in between there, and, dude, I gotta admit, like, it's right there with Unruly Child. It's
Really?
it's getting up there with the, AOR perfection. I did suggest it to Metal Mike, and he was like, "No, too light, too light. This is
Right.
too AOR." But if you're in the mood for that, it's really good stuff. Um, Eric Martin from Mr. Big does a duet on there with him, and by
Oh,
duet, he sings in the chorus, which is
sure.
a duet enough.
Yeah.
But, I love it. It's, true to form stuff. It's that kind of like, beyond tongue in cheek stuff in there, singing about some like more deeper lyric things. But I love Signal. They're right there with Unruly Child for me because in the order it goes Unruly Child, hands down number one, then Signal, then King Cobra.
What is the name of the or the 1992 Unruly Child album? Or is it self?
Self-titled. It's
Okay.
self-titled. Yeah.
That's an album that and I need to revisit it because right now I couldn't tell you a song off of it. But that
Oh,
is an album
yeah.
that people talk about like like in worshiping tones. That
As they should. It
right,
is one of those albums where you go, this is where it should have gone.
right.
You know, both
Yeah.
with our love for the Wild Side, Saints and Sinners, Heavy Bones, Dog Eat Dog, Unruly Child. Like that's where it should have gone. It was just perfect. So and
Yeah.
Hardline, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you got me jacked to go listen to that album. So I'm
Very
in the
good.
mood. So okay. My number 5, there's only they do have more than one album, but this is basically a one album wonder. But what a fucking album. 1991's McQueen Street,
Oh my
and
gosh.
the singer is Derek Welsh. And I hesitated to put this in, but damn it, if you go listen to McQueen Street now, so it's their self-titled album. It came out in 1991. They started
Yeah.
recording the follow-up and got dropped by their label, obviously, in 1992. So the follow-up called Two was not released. Shit, it might have been in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And it's not bad. It doesn't have all the production, all the money that was put into making the debut. But they I'll throw out a couple songs. Time. I talked about that in a recent episode. My Religion, Woman in Love, and Money. That dude is like a cross between Sebastian Bach and I don't know, fucking maybe Bon Scott. I'm just throwing something out there, but
Ooh.
he hits shit. I mean, do you know this album?
Oh,
I
yeah, very
okay.
well.
He hits notes that you're like, fuck, unreal. And he does ballads. So now I'm gonna throw this might be an old song, but there is a song that was released in 2020 called One Way Ticket. It is on YouTube. So it's never been released before. So I don't know if it's a new song or if it was just something that didn't make it on an album and they released it. It will blow your fucking mind. One Way Ticket by McQueen Street. If you can't tell just when I'm talking about it, I'm like, oh, please go listen to that. Anyway, that guy can do stuff with his throat that not many singers can do. I don't know if he pulls it off live. There's not a lot of live shit on YouTube from that band. But if there's three Sleazebees, Wild Side, and McQueen Street will always be three unknown albums that I will always recommend. And Derek Welsh is probably the best singer of those three and one of the best of this genre.
I'm so proud of you for putting that on there. I love that album. I love that band. What I don't know, and I'll ask you, do you know where they're from? I
I
can't
I
remember.
I think they're from the South. They might be from Florida.
Okay,
Not 100%.
got it.
If
Because
it's not Florida, I think it might be like Mississippi.
yeah, in like the early 2000s, I used to always accuse this one guy I would run into all the time when we'd go out as being the lead singer of McQueen Street. I swear to God, it was him. And he used to always look at me and kind of wink and smile. He had the killer hair and everything still. And I was like, I'm pretty sure you're that guy. But I'm not sure if they're a California band. But anyway, very, very killer choice by you.
Yeah. Hey, if somebody from McQueen Street, see, you got to think these bands find this shit somehow. So message me, okay?
Yeah.
And even if you don't want to do an interview, like I would love to hear some shit about what happened with that band. Like I love hearing the behind the scenes stories. Like to me, that band, that album should have blown up. I'd like to hear, from the band's perspective, maybe the label took forever to release the album. Anyway, so if Derek Welsh or somebody from McQueen Street, or if you know any of those guys from McQueen Street, tell them that the guru is looking for them, okay? All right. And with that, let's go to your number four.
Okay, cool. So here's where I got, and I'll tell you right now, Mikey Steelheart or Miljenko Matijevek, whatever it is. The man with the range, the look, the attitude, the songwriting skills, and probably perhaps the most impressive, the back bend at the end of the I'll Never Let You Go video. I mean, come on, the guy's a gymnast. So a few years ago, I'd probably say that he was number one in my books due to his range.
Yeah,
He hit it live, he hit it on the record, and you can't deny that. Of course, it was amazing to see him in the old 1990 to 93 videos that he would put out in the old days. It was amazing. But then I put him in the top 5 still because range isn't everything, but it's a lot in this category. He's definitely the total package, but there's voices I dig more as part of the total package more than he is. You know what I mean? Like he's got the range, but there's guys that have more of the total package in terms of range, how they sound in every other aspect, mid tempos, ballads, etc.
right.
So if you want to check out Steelheart, which he's a big name, he's a pretty popular dude, but
Yep.
check out Like Never Before, Gimme Gimme, Sheila, All Your Love, Late for the Party, and then also um, Angel Eyes was hands down my favorite ballad of all time on my top 15 ballads lists on the 80s glam metal cast, and I preach it right now. Like Angel Eyes, you can't get much better, in my opinion, than that ballad. It's got a little bit of everything for me. So I love Mikey Steelheart.
Mikey Steelheart.
He
And
he
somehow
did he did call himself that for a while.
oh, really?
Yeah.
I, uh, I always said Mike Matajevic. I have no clue. That might have been like how Americans were pronouncing it, but you
Mhm.
did whatever you did was good as far as trying to pronounce it. I remember, so I graduated in 1991. My senior prom theme came down to two choices: Angel Eyes or One Step from Paradise by Danger Danger. So we went with Danger Danger. But that song, I'll Never Let You Go, that is a song that everybody who heard it was like, who the fuck is singing?
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you get to the end. And then you realize that that wasn't all just studio trickery. Like the
Oh,
dude
no.
could actually sing like that. And I'll throw out my favorite songs, Everybody Loves Eileen,
Oh, yeah.
Love Ain't Easy, and on Tangled and Reigns, I love the ballad Mama Don't You Cry. Like
Oh, yeah.
don't tell anybody I'm kind of a mama's boy. So that's I love that song. I saw I didn't see him back in the day, but I saw Steelheart and my memory sucks. So it was probably in the 2008 to 2012 range. They played with Firehouse at in Fargo. And it wasn't exactly the same note at the end of
Right.
Angel Eyes, but damned if it wasn't close. And I was, holy shit, this is like 25, 26 years later, and the dude, and you know, the dude had the look, he had the hair. It was just, it was still getting a little too late to the party. I mean, they had a huge hit, so better
Yeah.
for that guy can sing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, my number four, and this is I okay, it's Sebastian Bach from Skid Row. I worship the debut album. I worship Slave to the Grind. Sebastian Bach doesn't like me. He blocked me on X. I don't think he likes the term hair metal. Okay, and sorry, Sebastian, we kind of got into some shit about that, and he blocked me. So, I now it's over. Shit, I'll just get it. I did. Sebastian, if you need me to kiss your ass and make up, I did buy the new
Ooh,
Sebastian
nice.
Bach album, Child Within the Man. I think this cover sucks. And like the car in the grass, I know his father painted it. But then he's got this kid who I'm assuming is Sebastian, but he's wearing a Sebastian Bach t-shirt. I'm like, really? That's but I will say this that what I've listened, and I just got this in the mail, that what I've listened to so far online sounds like the best Sebastian solo stuff. His last album, Give Him Hell, was I thought was kind of a letdown. Angel Down, I really liked. But anyway, um, that dude on the debut and Slave to the Grind did stuff with his voice that you're like, holy shit. Um, you know, the song Slave to the Grind, Monkey Business. He could sing with power and grit and then come back at you with an I Remember You, with an 18 in Life, with a Wasted Time, or even on Subhuman Race, Breaking Down. It was a great ballad. Now, so I love Sebastian the singer. Now let me say this. Live, if you've ever watched old live shit, he is somebody who has a lot of notes. Like
Mhm.
like there are some singers who, like, I think Jack Russell from Great White, like he will not hit bum notes, or at least very rarely. Sebastian struggles live to hit a lot of those high notes. So a lot of, so he doesn't always pull it off live. And now this is probably me being pissed that he blocked me on X, but his voice has definitely on record changed over the years. He doesn't sound like he did on the debut. But how could you not? He was 19 or 20 when the
Yeah.
debut came out, and now he's like 56. So for his age, he still sounds very good. and I will always have a soft spot in my heart for the first two Skid Row albums.
Yeah.
Subhuman Race is a shit show, but Breaking Down was very good.
Dude, I was this close to putting them on there because only because of the first 2 albums, and then in my, um, ranking or categorizing these guys, I said, "They've gotta have a decent catalog for me to really delve into," and Sebastian was one of those guys where I said, I I it's undeniable.
Yep.
The first album especially for me, undeniable, and while you're talking about this most recent release, I'm almost bummed that it's so good because I don't want to preach Sebastian right now because the way he let me down during the 90s Skid Row stuff and the way he's let me down kinda going to that just annoying guy
Oh yeah.
kinda the way
Yeah,
he is these days, that whole thing.
totally.
But man, the new album, I listened to the whole thing and I was like, "Fuck, it's good. It's
Right.
fucking good."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I'm gonna sign off on this one." I
Right,
like it.
right.
So, well played.
Yeah. And you're right. Like I've said this before that I completely understand why the guys in Skid Row don't want to get back together with him. I mean, he is nonstop on 100 and
Yeah.
like, blah 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 blah. So can you imagine being on a tour bus with that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Oh,
okay, what's your number three?
alright, cool. So, I got a man with a voice from the gods, and that is Johnny Gioli, okay? And he's got an extensive career, and he's still got it in 2024. He's fronts my number 1 band from 1992, and that is Hardline, and the album is Double Eclipse. This album may rank in my top 5 albums of all time, and that's humongous, but I truly, truly believe that. It's an amazing album. His first band, Brunette, was epic. Lots of early hardline stuff in there. Terrible production if you ever heard the Brunette stuff, but if you listen through it, it's
I
okay.
have the CD. It got put out at some point. I can't remember by who, but I have
Yes, me
CD.
too, and I was like, "Oh, damn, I wanna remaster this whole thing," but anyway, um, his collaboration with Axel Rudy Pell is great. It's kinda very, like, medieval, like, Dragon Slay stuff with Axel Rudy Pell, but it's still got enough ripping in it that we would all probably kinda like it. Um, he's been in that band since '98, so he has several albums, like 19 albums out with him or something like that. It's all pretty good stuff. But if you want to hear like a really secret ripper out there, check out Face Down with Doug Aldrich and
So
Johnny Gioli.
what band is that? Is there a band name for that?
Yeah, so Doug Aldrich's solo album.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and I believe it's called High Centered, and the song is Face Down. So check that out. But, all the hardline stuff, especially Double Eclipse, all the Axel Rudy Pell stuff. So you can't go wrong with Johnny Gioli.
I just put on my YouTube that Face Down song so I can hear it after this.
Nice, cool.
Um, I I bought the Hardline cassette.
Yep.
I'm an old fuck when it first came out, and it's shocking how good that thing is. I mean, Neil Sean leaves Journey, one of the, I mean, they
Yeah.
were on a downswing, but one of the biggest
Yeah.
bands of the 80s joins up with these guys from this Sunset Strip band called Brunette and
Yeah.
put together a band called Hardline and release a fucking AOR pop rock and what pop metal. And when I say that, I mean as a compliment,
Right.
masterpiece. And I've covered them in a couple different ways, but I know one of them was I do this series called hair metal albums that could have and should have but didn't. And I try to point out, okay, what are the songs that I think could have been on the radio? Like a song that I rate an 8 or higher. and it was like damn near the whole fucking album
Oh yeah.
of Double Eclipse. Now, I'll be honest, I do have a couple of other Hardline albums, and I haven't given them the attention that I should. You know, I probably played them once and was like, okay, put it away. So I should revisit it. And I knew he did some stuff with Axel Rudy Pell,
Mhm.
but I have not listened to it at all. So when we get done with this, send me like shit that I should listen to because
Well, that Neil Sean was dating the Gioli brothers' sister during the production of what was gonna be a brothers album, and he turned into Hardline. So he
uh,
was producing those 2 guys who were extreme talent, Johnny and Joey Gioli, and extreme talent. He was gonna produce it, and he said, "Fuck it, I'll join the band." But he was dating, and I think he went on to maybe marry the sister. And in terms of Axel Rudy, there's a lot. So
right.
I'll definitely,
Tell me the ones I should start with.
of
Or-
course, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's a solid choice, and that guy's got some powerful vocals, and he does
Yeah.
ballads as well as the ripping rockers. So yeah, solid choice. Hey, if you haven't ever listened to Hardline Double Eclipse, just stop the video, make sure you continue it afterwards, and go listen to it now.
That's right.
All right. My number three, and this will probably surprise nobody. I told Brian in our last video, I said, I got to start advertising when I actually have a video where I don't talk about Lillian Axe, but this ain't the one because Ron Taylor from Lillian Axe is one of my favorite vocalists. They put out a 4 album run, self-titled Love and War, Poetic Justice, and Psychoschizophrenia. And that dude um, has there are ballads that will break your heart and make you cry. There are rock songs that will get your fist pumping and everything in between. And so he's in my top, I don't know. Yeah. Well, I mean, right here he's number 3. So he's one of my favorite vocalists of all time from one of my favorite bands of all time. And I'll just The Day I Met You from Psycho Schizophrenia. Go listen to All's Fair in Love and War. Dying to Live from Poetic Justice. One of my favorite and some of the most uplifting lyrics. And then there's a ballad on the debut called Nobody Knows that I've said is one of it was number 1 in my ballads that should have blown up the charts. It was tied for number 1 with Standing Alone from Taiketo. Nobody Knows is a monster that deserved better. So Ron Taylor is my number 3.
That's so killer of you. Um, have you ever looked up the band called Stiff on
Yep.
YouTube? Okay, cool. So
Stiff,
they play
I know, and sorry to interrupt. Stiff is where Ron Taylor, but they used to cover one of my favorite songs, "Girls My Number," and
that's
then
right.
they got Lillian X to do it. Anyway, I'll stop now.
No, you're good, dude. This is your guy. So, Ron Taylor, I'm ashamed in myself for not putting this guy on the list. Um, Metal Mike, my apologies. um, he's so the song "She's My Salvation" I've talked about for a long time on Poetic Justice. That's one of those songs that riff combined with his vocals, it might be in my top 10 songs of all time.
Right.
Like that is some strong shit right there. Um, the Stiff Stuff, that song, She Likes It on Top, like, it doesn't get much better, but what I did do was, and I'm sorry to keep harking back, but we're all in the same ballpark here on the 80s glam metal 80s glam metal cast, we did a, top 10 unplugged songs of all time, and, he did in 2016, I believe, a song, "All's Fair in Love and in War,"
Yep.
and in 2016, this guy's voice is still perfect. So you can imagine it is a few years later at this point, but I guarantee you it's still damn good. And he stopped the recording when they tried to plug in the scream at the beginning of that song. And he said, "Nope, you guys pre-plumbed it. I missed it. Guess what? We're going to call a timeout." And he hit it perfectly.
Right.
Ron Taylor was on the 80s Glam Metal Cast as a interview, and
Mhm.
he was the nicest, friendliest, down to earth.
Yes.
I think he is one of the most underrated vocalists of the era, and he deserves a lot of credit.
Yes. And so he is not in Lillian X now. They do have another singer. They're still
Right.
putting out stuff, but I know, or at least everything that I've heard just says he has a family, he
Yep.
has a job, he wants to take care of his family. So he only left Lillian X because he couldn't tour,
Yeah.
and they would want to tour and he'd have to, he'd be like, man, I can't leave my job. So I know he is in a band called Low Side, and
That's
they
right.
play like I think they're in New Orleans, so they play locally, and then so he does still sing. But you're exactly right. I listened to that interview with Metal Mike, and that he's just like instead of sounding like yeah we were rock stars, he's like man, thank you so much. Like I just appreciate like because Metal Mike is obviously a huge fan too. So
Huge.
and I'll just Steve Blaze from Lillian Axe seems like the most nice, appreciative dude as well. So
Yeah.
I just root for people like that. So
Totally.
all right, that finishes up Ron Taylor.
This one gives lightning bolts. There we go.
No shit,
Shit.
no
Yeah.
way. Oh
Oh
no,
yeah.
oh dude. Now that I know that,
Oh
can you do it anytime? No. Oh, I am doing the shit out of this
yeah.
all the time now. You know any other ones?
Oh, dude. No.
Oh, I did that. Bubbles, bubbles, man. When I was a kid, we wanted bubbles. We had to fart in the tub.
You're
Glad
talking
I'm
to an Eddie
recording now
Murphy
because
fan.
some of these comments are going to be going in the opening montage.
Yep.
All right, we're on your number two. What do you got?
Okay, so this might be controversial to some that I put this guy so high, but the man, the voice, as stated on the Headhunter album, Mark Storaci. Okay, the strength of his voice from 1980 to the mid 90s was so big for me, and his early 80s live performances says it all in my mind, and they won't let you down. He nailed every note and it was perfect. um yes, I was hooked initially on the Bon Scott similarities, but now I only really hear the Bon Scott stuff, the opening line on Headhunter, and a song off of To Rock or Not to Be called Flying Through the Night. And that's some deep shit right there. But people talk shit about him early on because they were Crocus was a very, very cocky band, and there was some Motley versus Crocus stuff going on. He had funny hair, and probably because they failed to get like huge, they got platinum with Headhunter, but that was the peak of their career popularity wise. Um, but I'll take his voice from 1980 to 1995 over almost any other singer. If you want to like really get used to Mark Storaci, check out Playing the Outlaw, Ready to Burn, Ready to Rock, which is a very overlooked song off of The Blitz, the last song on the album, and a song called Axe Attack off of Headhunter, and Lionheart off of To Rock or Not to Be. But I will never, ever waver in my Mark Storaci love.
You are a freaking Crocus maniac, and I mean
Oh, I'm
that.
a diehard.
Or I should have said a Crocus midnight maniac. Because you always find a way to talk, and I think that's such a severely underrated band because I'm like we worship AC/DC. So anything that has a resemblance to AC/DC or is influenced by AC/DC, I generally am out trying to find it. Like I don't think it's a bad thing to say, hey, here's a band that I love and they're an influence and we're gonna, it's not like they're an AC/DC clone, but you can hear
Right.
the influence.
Yeah.
So I love that. Crocus reminds me of they were part of the first wave of hair metal. You know,
Yes.
like so talked about this the other day. Like in 86, it started to be you had to be pretty, you had to wear some makeup, not everybody, but your Poison, Bon Jovi, uh Cinderella all came out in 86. And that started to leave behind Quiet Riot, Twisted Sister, Crocus, even even if you want to go into bands like Loverboy and
Yeah.
Night Ranger. And for the record, I love all those bands.
Mhm.
I love Loverboy and Night Ranger. So, Crocus kept going for a long and have released a ton of albums.
Right.
And it's unfortunate that they never got, like you said, I think they had only one album that went platinum, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Maybe they had another album that went gold, but just a solid freaking band, and that dude could sing and hits notes that you're like, wow, and fucking now trying to think of the 1988 or 89 album that I
Head
talked.
heart attack.
Heart Attack.
Yeah.
Geez, that album I don't think did shit, but I love that album.
No,
It's
it didn't. They came out on MCA.
oh
They
well.
rebranded, they, changed their logo, and they went out, they had those 2 videos that looked like, someone with a camcorder kinda shaking their hands. It was a terrible offering in terms of what they could have been in that era, and, like I said on the mistakes episode, 86, Change of Address, should have been Heart Attack. That album absolutely rules.
Yeah.
But check out Mark Storace in the 1984 live, the video blitz, him doing Ready to Rock.
Yeah.
And that is one of the most commercial, awesome hairband videos, songs ever. And he doesn't miss a beat.
Yeah. I and you mentioned MCA and Lillian Axe was signed to MCA. When you sign with MCA, you're basically saying, "Hey, how else can we fuck our career up any worse?"
Yeah.
So,
And
uh,
there's that famous poster, Crocus, Lillian Axe playing together, touring together in '88. So you know why. And it didn't really
yeah,
go anywhere,
yeah.
unfortunately.
I didn't well, I mean, I know why because but I didn't know that they toured together.
Yeah, it didn't go very well.
And for those of you not in the know, Mark Storace was apparently in the running for the AC/DC gig after Bon Scott. But he and I appreciate this was like, no, I got my own band and we're gonna make it big. So they ended up going with Brian Johnson. I'm not sure if that really worked out for them or not. But anyway, so he stayed with Crocus and unfortunately they didn't make it big, but they have a long and solid catalog. So all right. My number two. Well, speaking of AC/DC and Bon Scott, it took me a while. Again, I started this thing with a lot of pretty singers that I do love, but I'm like, if I think back to the voices that I worship, and I've said before, they're like I'm a huge Kiss fan, I'm a huge Warrant fan. But I don't know if there's a band that when you look at their whole catalog that I love as much as AC/DC and the Bon Scott years in particular, you know, Highway to Hell, Rock and Roll Damnation, Long Way to the Top if you want to rock and roll. I love that gritty, high pitched, and, and live, he sounded great too. So you know what? When I first started listening to AC/DC, it was because of Back in Black. So for years, I told everybody that I was a Brian Johnson guy because I never really went back and listened. I knew the hits, but I didn't go back and listen to the catalog. And it wasn't till probably the late 90s where I was like, shit, like Highway to Hell is so awesome. Like I got to start listening to the rest of that shit. And there are so many underground songs that the average person wouldn't think of as a hit that I think are hits. And Bon Scott was, to me, just exemplifies what it means to be a rock and roll singer, pardon the pun. Um, so he's my number two, and he could easily be number one on the right day.
Ah, dude, again, so proud that you put this guy as number 2. Bon and Brian could very well be my number 1 on this whole thing. We could do a whole episode on Bon and Brian. I am
We
the
probably
num
need to.
I'm down right now. I'm probably the number 1 AC/DC guy, like, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't listen to AC/DC. There really isn't.
Yeah,
I mean, I thought I had tapped out at one point, so I transitioned to Crocus.
yeah.
But since then, that was in 1995, and I don't think there is a day that's gone by that I haven't listened to AC/DC. So for you to put Bon on here, it's like I feel like Bon and Brian are the aunt and the uncles and the grandparents that you see like posted on your walls on your hallway. Like
Right.
that's how of the family they are with me at this point. So your Bon Scott love is amazing, and I love it.
I feel like maybe we're my brother doesn't like any of this shit, and he likes hunting and shit. I'm like, maybe you're my long lost brother, and somebody got exchanged in the hospital. I'm
I
just kidding.
can't shoot Bambi.
Yeah. Yeah. Neither can I. Neither can I. But I could shoot a person if I needed to. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to get into that. All right. So that's my number two. What is your number one?
All right. So, okay. Okay. Well, when I talk about someone with the whole package, I'm talking about Joe Elliott. Okay. I'm not talking about package. I'm talking about pack.
I'm glad you cleared
so,
that up.
so Joe Elliott. Okay. He's got the low and gritty stuff. Let's think Too Late for Love. He's got that epic mid tempo stuff. Think Love and Affection, Hysteria, the song. And then he's got those soaring levels on like She's Too Tough. Okay. The song off Retroactive. She's Too Tough. The guy's got that. It's up here and it never wavers. Um, I probably watched the In the Round in Your Face video 150 times. I swear. It's like I got the VHS back in the 90s and that's when I started. And since then I've like watched it on YouTube, on DVD. No difference. It's amazing. He doesn't waver. In fact, his voice got stronger the more intense it goes. He's got one of those voice. I think, Armageddon it, Photographs chorus,
Mm.
Stage Fright. I can't get enough of these guys live. I saw them for the first time in San Francisco in 2002, and thank goodness it's on YouTube, which is really cool for me. It's audio only, but it showcases that Joe Elliott is completely consistent. The band is amazing. And might I mention a song called Four Letter Word off of the X album,
Yep.
which I don't like very much, but that song could have been on Hysteria. So Joe Elliott is the total package to me, and he will forever and for always be someone that I try to emulate as much as I can.
I I um I am always shocked. I always pictured I didn't think he'd be able to hit some of those notes live.
Oh
So
yeah.
I didn't see them live. I saw them live for the first time on the Euphoria
Oh
tour.
cool.
That's like
Nice.
98.
Yep.
And so a song that you did not mention that if somebody was going to say, "Hey, give me a song that exemplifies what Joe Elliott can do live," it's "Let It Go"
Oh,
by
oh,
Dry.
dude, very good.
He hits shit that you're like, "No, no, no, oh my God." So
Yeah,
I love that song. I love that album.
yeah,
And on that Euphoria tour, they did it live. And I'm like, holy shit, he didn't miss any notes. And now I've seen them live in the last couple of years. Uh took my son to see them in Poison, and dude
nice.
can still hit that shit.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if it was the first song or, like, maybe number 2, but they did Let It Go in 2002 when I saw them live,
yep,
and I was blown away, and then nowadays, I think he's done some vocal lessons where he does, like, a real falsetto thing
yeah,
to hit, like, the notes in Photograph and, the song Promises from Euphoria, this and that, but it doesn't fool me, and I'm sure it doesn't fool a lot of the people that are, like, really into the music scene, but, he does it well enough for people to appreciate it.
yep,
Um, he still sounds great. He's one of the founding fathers now with his gray hair, but that's okay. So is Angus, so is Bon Jovi, so is Brian May. Um, who else is in there? Bruce Dickinson,
yep,
Dave Meniketti. They let it go, but it's okay. No
yep,
pun intended.
absolutely. Uh, how many guys from back in the day are wearing wigs? You know, a ton of them are.
I don't think Michael Sweet is.
I don't think Gene Simmons is. That dude's
Oh,
been bald since like '83.
yeah.
So yeah, and I've always been honest that I don't think Hysteria aged particularly well. Um Adrenalize kind of the same thing, but when it came out, I worshiped the Hysteria album, and I still High and Dry and Pyromania still regularly make my playlists. I coach little kids basketball, and and I'm talking little kids, train little kids. When we warm up, I always play like Photograph
Oh,
or some
nice.
shit, and the kids don't know it, but usually their parents are like, "Hey, what's up?"
Nice.
So I have a ton of I love Def Leppard, I really do. Have you listened like Diamond Star Halos?
Uh-huh.
What what's your because I haven't
Mm,
listened to it. I know the songs that got released. I thought the first single, what was it called? Something Kick, right?
yeah, I think that was it.
The
Yeah.
Kick sounded pretty catchy, but
Yeah.
and maybe you haven't either, but I haven't given it much time, and I feel like I
I
should.
I gave it a good shot, and I think I'd top off at their 2015, self-titled
Yep.
with,
Let's Go or something like that.
"Let's Go" and "Dangerous."
Okay.
Those are really good songs, I think. And that's
Sure.
about
Sure.
it.
Oh, I hear you. There's a lot of my favorite bands that somewhere in fact, I want to do an episode sometime that's it's called When the Band Lost Me.
Oh, yeah.
You
Very
know,
good.
like there's a point where you go, you know what, I'm done buying your shit. Whether it's, they went to crap, or maybe they did something that you're like, oh, okay, you're a douchebag, so I'm not. But so
Yeah.
that would be kind of a fun episode to do at some point.
Oh, totally. I'm down.
Okay. All right, my number one, and so usually I in episodes I try not to have repeats. I try to go, like when you do best debut albums, I don't want, me and Brian doing the same albums. But the one time there's going to be a repeat is my number one is Janie Lane, from Warrant. So I've done so much Warrant. That's another, I talk about Warrant all the time, but he's always at a special place in my heart. I did a video about his death, and kind of my journey along with Warrant. I had my own drinking problem when he was starting to go downhill. I was starting to go downhill, but I won't regurgitate all that. But in the first time I saw Warrant, the first time I saw Warrant live was in '92 on the Dog Eat Dog tour. But then I saw them a ton of times when they were touring Ultraphobic and Belly to Belly. And these are, clubs, few
Yeah.
hundred people. And the dude never missed a note. The dude could command a crowd, and he's one of my favorite lyricists. So, shit, go check out Stronger Now from Ultraphobic. I Saw Red. I mean, Mr. Rainmaker. The dude could craft a song and was a, as a vocalist, I just feel like he could do anywhere from the powerful Inside Out on Dog Eat Dog to the most gentle ballad. And so I've always been swinging from Warrant's nuts. And so I'll swing one more time. Should I swing it to the left or should I swing it to the right? I don't know. But Janie Lane is my number one vocalist.
Think about baseball, swing all night.
Right, baby.
Dude, awesome choice. The guy is the epitome of singer-songwriter, talent, range, the look. He had it all. I think he and Brett did a little bit of this because there was a little bit of this going on. I'm
Yep.
just saying they were pissed off at one another because they were both too good. Uh, but it is funny when you think about when you said Inside Out, there it is on Dog Eat Dog. That's like thrash metal compared to like the hardest song on Dirty Rotten Filthy is like maybe So Damn Pretty or
Yeah.
something like that. And then he went all the way to Inside Out. And it's like, dude, the diversity of his voice is amazing. And he'll forever in my eyes be probably the best songwriter, but short of like he and Richie Sambora and John Bon Jovi, like I don't know, there's really no difference.
Yep.
There's really no competition. He's a great songwriter and performer. I miss that dude so much. And you know what? I never got to see him live. There was a Poison Warrant, I think Firehouse tour in like the mid 2000s, and it got canceled in my area because Bobby Doll broke his back on a go kart.
I think I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, and I was so bummed because I wanted to see Warrant so bad. I've gotten to see him, but not with Janie, and I really miss his addition to that band.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's, I mean, it's I beat it to death, but alcohol just took over. And with each album, you could tell he was losing it a little bit more and more. Um, so it's, I always, if he would have beat his demons, I've always said, geez, the guy could be writing like ballads for country singers. Even if
Oh
he
yeah,
wasn't a famous rock star, performing with Warrant, he could have been a songwriter for
oh
people.
yeah.
And because that was the kind of talent that he was. And even people who don't like hair metal and even if they give Warrant shit for like Cherry Pie and stuff, most people will acknowledge the dude could write a song. So, you know, take that for what you will.
Great number one.
Yeah. Hey man, it has been awesome chatting about hair metal vocalists with you. Thanks for being on.
Well, thank you. I got about 25 more if you ever want to do this again.
Hey man. Hey, I love chatting music with Ryan. So, Ryan, I really appreciate you being on. Hey, if you made it through the end of this, where did we fuck up? What vocalist are you like, no, that doesn't count? And then what vocalists did we miss out on? And hey, I appreciate all you guys who take the time to sit and watch. If you like this kind of shit, I would love it if you gave it the old thumbs up. I would love it if you comment. I would love it if you subscribe. And like I said earlier, if you want to join and get extra benefits or don't, whatever. So
Mhm.
you always have that option. Until the next video comes out, my name is Anthony. They call me the guru. Take care.